Right, Pacific time. And it was just brought up that the Los Angeles Clippers played the Brooklyn Nets. So instead of talking about how the Clippers are doing, I just want Ed and George to talk about that game last night and just have at it. Talk to me about it.
Anything to say for yourself?
What do you mean? I'm innocent, man.
In the words of the great British philosopher, Mr. Junior Adenuga, what do you mean? What do you mean? Did you see the last play?
Yeah, I saw the last play.
Yeah, enough said, isn't it? What are you laughing for? What the fuck is that?
Because I said won the game.
Huh? No, I mean, it is what it is. Like PG's, I think PG's still on the minutes restriction. He didn't play. He didn't play the first game against the Jazz, then played limited minutes second game against the Jazz. Although saying that KD was out as well. I did mention before how without Patrick Beverley, the Clippers give up a lot of points to guards because they just can't seem to defend them. But recently, the Clippers have started to play Mr. Morris at center, which is great offensively, but defensively, it's not the most efficient thing, especially because their defense isn't particularly that good anyway. So I'm disappointed. One, maybe Zubac hasn't taken the step that you would wanted him to take, maybe to be a bit better defensively, because that's what they need. That they've got enough for. They've got more than enough offense. But then saying that, even looking at purely from three, PG and Kawhi went 9 of 18 from three, great 50%, but then everyone else on the team went 6 and 17. So you only really got 6 3-points from everyone else on the team, which is a bit disappointing. You're hoping for a bit more production outside. I think there was only one other player in double digits against the Nets who, as Jordan, we spoke about, their defense isn't particularly that good, and they're arguably missing their best defensive player in KD, if you were to say that. So, I mean, a bit disappointing from the Clippers' perspective, but Kawhi should have got the last bucket, and yeah, Clippers should have won. Enough said.
Yeah. But you have to admit it was smart, because at the end of it, they couldn't even challenge it because they used up all their challenges. So that was it. That was just unlucky. I think if you got the challenge call, then yeah, it probably would have been rewritten, and then we could have been talking differently today.
This is going to go a little bit off topic. There's two things I want to talk about challenges. Firstly, it pisses me off so much when players go like this. Like, fuck off. The coaches are talking about, you don't need to do that. It pisses me off so much, and then undermines the player if the coach doesn't choose to do it.
Yeah.
So that's just something that really pisses me off. Secondly, they have a thing in the NFL where if you call a challenge and it's accepted, you don't get charged with timeout. I know it's the same in the NBA, but timeouts are a lot more important in the NFL than it is in the NBA. I believe that if you call a challenge and you get it correct, you should be able to keep that challenge. Because at the end of the day,
that's how they do it, isn't it?
No, you only get one challenge.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's something that really annoys me, because I'm correcting a mistake that the referees did. I should not be punished for that by not getting another challenge. I guess it is an added thing, but I just like the idea of, I know it could probably make the game slower and longer, but if you do get your challenge right, I know that's my thinking, but that's got nothing to do with but actually, no, I want to hear what you guys think. That's got nothing to do with it, but I just want to go think about challenge stuff.
I agree with you. It's the same in every other sport, like in cricket and tennis, etc. You get your challenge right, you get it back for free.
Yeah. But don't you think, like, if with that of the no challenges, you get it for free, then that'll just cause like more challenges and challenge. Like, look at Draymond Green. Could you imagine him?
But you still only get
challenge and how vocal he is.
You still only get your one challenge though. So if you get it wrong, then you lose it. It's gone.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they need to get rid of them. Like, I want my NBA game under 2 hours. I can't be sitting there for 3. It's too long.
You say that now. You say that now until you get an awful decision go against you, and then you'll just
there's still, as we saw in this game that we are literally talking about, they're still blowing calls anyway. So It's not like removing the challenge is going to make a wild amount of difference. I don't think it really is.
I just like the idea of not being punished for getting something right.
Yeah, I think they're kind of in the middle with both of it. I agree with Bray that I think things should be quicker, but the games are like already slow. So if they're in this review phase, or if it continues forever, then it needs to be at least correct. So I just think that they're kind of in the middle ground with it, and it kind of sucks both ways. So I just think they need to pick a side and go all the way instead of being on the fence with it.
Let's talk about the Clippers. So well, you spoke about Morris. He actually had 26 points in the first half against the Heat. And then Zubac has actually had a really good week. He had 22 points, 8 rebounds against the Heat. And then also against the Nets, he had 13 points and 8 rebounds. He's putting up solid numbers for a big man. But the player I'm going to talk about is Lou Will.
6 men like Lou Will, 2 girls, and they get along like a
Lou Will. So in the last 6 games, he's averaging 21.7 points per game. That being said, no Kawhi and no PG. He's got a true shooting percentage of 66%. Obviously, he really struggled last night, but how important is he to this team and about him recapturing his old form that we briefly spoke about before?
So at the start of the year, I was kind of dogging Lou Will and be like, yeah, he's not what he was, because last year he didn't necessarily turn up like you would like him to turn up in the playoffs and when the Clippers really needed someone to stand out. And it was fair to assume then he may have been past it, because I mean he's late, well, mid to late 30s. Now with Kawhi and PG being out, it does feel like this was the old Clippers team that made it to the 8th or the 7th seed a couple years back, and were able to grind out those results against those more those better teams, better equipped teams. So you do like to see that sort of production from Lou Will, but now it's all about how long he can maintain it for and picking up the slack when maybe Kawhi and PG need some help on the offensive end. But again, the offense isn't their biggest issue. Is trying to be consistent on defense. I think they've got the second best offense in the league, and they're middle of the pack when it comes to defense. And defense does win championships, no matter what you say. Defense will. That was always the thing about the Warriors. Like, although the offense was amazing, it was the defense that kept them in games more often than not. That is where they need to solidify where they're at. They've got great wing defenders, but at the 1 and at the 5, they could be a bit better. Pat Beverly coming back helps them a lot, but I get your point about Lou Will, and it's definitely nice he's getting this sort of production now, but we'll see what happens in the playoffs and how their defense does.
I'm hoping he comes back, man. That's our boy, Wildy. That's our boy.
Wildy said "we" earlier when talking about Philly. I just want to note that,
just say it into existence. All these haters talking about my bias, you know. Let's just do it. Let's just talk. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Wildy and talk about his second team that he's going to talk about, and that's the Phoenix Suns. And yes, right, Bray, you guessed it, the Chris Paul experiment. There you go. Chris Paul experiment, 19-10 so far, 2-1 this week. Suns are playing really good basketball, and you can definitely tell the leadership that Chris Paul has had, what effect it has on this team. So, Wildy, speak to me about the Suns.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Since you teed me up about Chris Paul, let's start with him. He passed the big O, Oscar Robertson, in all-time assists. He's now 6th of all time in assists, which is awesome. No one will ever catch Stockton, but it's great for him to be as high up as he is on that list. Yeah, he's playing amazing. I think the best case of his leadership came against the Pelicans. He only took 11 shots, but he dictated the whole flow of that game. He got 19 assists and 15 points. Was the main reason that they won that, and he's just an orchestrator to help them win that game, which was amazing. Another piece of history from the Suns was first time they had a 30-point lead at the half on the road against Memphis. So that's really cool. That's another thing credited to Chris Paul's leadership, is that even because in that game nobody particularly had like a standout game on the roster of the Suns, but yet they won a game easily because they controlled the game, they controlled the tempo, and that's a winning team and a winning chemistry, where if you can have these games in a condensed season like this, where you're going to have some nights where, quite frankly, you get bored and you play as many games as they do, but you can still pull out wins like that with nobody getting particularly hot, then it's just impressive, and it's going to guarantee you some success in getting into the playoffs.
Chris Paul, 6th all-time in assists, but do you know what else he's part of?
Steals.
He's part of my stat line of the week.
Oh,
got him. Okay, cool. So, Chris Paul, in the Pelicans win, he had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 19 assists. Yes, 19 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. And you asked, how many turnovers did he have? He only had 2.
Yeah.
That is my stat line of the week. boy knows how to take care of the basketball.
It's just, he is a true point guard, and it's just fantastic how he can affect the game with so few shots. Yeah, I mean,
can I stay on Chris Paul, Wildy? There's a question I want to ask you because you brought up he's 6th all time in assists. He passed the Big O. Where does he rank for you in terms of PGs? And I can open this up to the wider group. I would love to hear your thoughts. Is he on the Mount Rushmore? If we look at it from a scope, you've got Magic. He's definitely Isaiah Thomas, really undervalued.
Absolutely.
You know, where does he fit?
Steph.
Yep, Steph's going to be there.
Do you know what it is, right? Ed.
Alfred Payton.
No,
Michael
that's
Carter
not
Williams.
what it is. That isn't what it is.
No, it's exactly what it is, Wildy.
No, I think Ed made he said it in full, but Isaiah Thomas, he actually steals that little guy's spot on the Mount Rushmore because he's got the championships. And Chris, unfortunately, as you well pointed out in your comparison to Chris Brown, Alex, a couple of weeks ago, that he's got those smudges on his career in the playoffs, which means that I don't think, Mount Rushmore is 4 guys. That's hard to get on. And Isaiah takes that spot that Chris Paul may one day be entitled to, but doesn't look like it's going to be given at this point in his career.
I love this discussion. I think there's 3 names in stone: IT, Magic, and Steph Curry, which leaves 1 more. So you've got Chris Paul, you've got maybe, if you want to say Steve Nash, you've got maybe Jason Kidd.
Ed, do you know what's an incredible point is the fact that this is the most popular position in the NBA, and yet we're still struggling to find that next person, the person to fill that spot. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to know who you guys will put in the last one, because I think those 3 are. So I'm not sure if you guys would disagree. You've got John Stockton, you've got Chris Paul, you've got Russell Westbrook. You could say Russell Westbrook. You could say Oscar Robertson's in there. You could say Damian Lillard's in there. You could say
LeBron James.
I mean, who do you guys? LeBron James.
LeBron James.
I mean,
no,
John Stockton edges Chris Paul for me at the moment, just because he's been to the finals multiple times. Yeah, his productivity is second to none. But yeah,
I personally think it's John Stockton until proven otherwise.
So are you just basically rating them based on what they can put on their not their stat lines, but their experiences of how deep they've gone to the finals and championships they've won, instead of mainly what they do and their mentality on the court? Because if you look around, like even Alex mentioned it before, and you said it yourself, like the way he contributes to the team and the difference he makes on the court wouldn't you say that isn't enough to put him like high up there, or is it just all about rings and chips?
Well, I think he's up there, George, because, hey, look, we're talking about it, but I just think that if you look at, as I said, again, it's 4 guys, and if you've really got, when you're talking about only 4, we sound like assholes, like nitpicking this much about, somebody as great as Chris Paul, but when you get that great, the margin, the difference between each guy becomes so tiny that you have to nitpick to make a decision on it.
So if we change the question, then sorry to interested in. But so if you're just talking about this generation, then 2000s onwards, is he up there? Does he make that list?
100%.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. He's number 2. He's number 2 on that list.
Behind Steph.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose Nash and Kidd.
Nash, Kidd, Russell.
George, I will say this though. He's the best floor general of all time.
Yeah, definitely.
He's number 1 in that area. What his impact on the court, like you said, is second to none. Like you said, it doesn't come up in rings, but the Suns team, bearing in mind they were the 8th seed and they have a massive run, they're 19-10. That's extremely impressive.
Absolutely. And missing Booker for a couple of weeks there as well, and they held it down. And they won 11 of their last 13 games. They're hot right now.
Yeah, and Frank the Tank is starting, your boy.
Man, yeah, 4 threes again the other night. Oh man, like I'm loving it. It's great.
This team
he's a perfect guy to have with Chris Paul.
This team has got a lot of guys that you want to root for, like especially when you look down your bench. Like you've got Galloway, we spoke about Saric, you've got Frank the Tank, you've got Bridges as well. These are players that are they're emerging and behind the leadership of CP3. But yeah, absolutely. Great conversation about CP3. This is going to be a tough one. Just bear with it. You know, the patience down. Hopefully we'll get them back. Sacremento Kings. Bray, talk to me.
It's about to get a bit salty in here because Sacremento Kings 0-4 this week. They're on a 7-game losing streak. They've lost to the Sixers, the Magic, the Grizzlies, the Nets, the Heat, the Bulls, and the Bucks. It's dire, to be honest. They are a wildly inconsistent team. They literally just before this, ripped off this winning streak. They won 6 of 7 or something, and now they're they've lost the last 7. So it's ridiculous. They just don't have the talent. They are just such a mediocre team. Do you know when the last time the Kings made the playoffs was? Anyone?
It brought this up. Yeah,
we spoke about this.
No, 2006.
No, 2006. 2006.
They've got the longest drought yet.
In the last 12 years, do you know how many top 10 picks they've had?
Top 10?
Top 10 picks in the last 12 years.
12.
No, but I bet you it's less than that, isn't it?
It's 11.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
11. It's 11.
They're in there more or less every year.
Yeah. Let me take you through who in 12 years.
Oh,
12 years. Who have they been picking? They had Kyrie Evans at number 4 back in 2009.
I can guess some of these.
Yeah.
They had DeMarcus Cousins in 2010. They had Bismack Biyombo in 2011. This guy, I bet you all remember this guy, Thomas Robinson at number 5 in 2012.
From Kansas, yeah.
Who the hell is he? Just they had Ben McLemore, Nick Stauskas, Willie Cauley-Stein.
Stauskas is a shocker.
Stauskas or Peyton? Stauskas.
The mediocrity. The only one you look at and go, that was a decent pick was Fox, and that was the 5th pick. They had Collins the same year at 10. He's not on the team anymore.
Boogie was a beast.
Yeah, Boogie and Fox. Yeah. Boogie and Fox.
Boogie was a beast on that team.
Yeah, Boogie was. And in 2019, the 1 year they didn't have a lottery pick. It's because they didn't have it. They sent it to Philadelphia in a salary dump because they built their team so poorly.
That's Sam Hinkie. Got him.
Jesus, honestly.
Yeah, no, but Vladdy Divac.
A great rookie this year.
Vladdy Divac.
Halliburton is banging.
Okay, Halliburton is really good. And they actually did a good job by taking the best available player, even though they've got guys in the position, because they've got Hield and they've got Fox. So a lot of teams would go, oh, we don't want Halliburton because we've got our guys. But they made the right decision on that. He's going to be really good, I think, but not on the Kings. They need to trade him immediately, or he needs to get out of there immediately, because that's where stars go to die. And honestly, this is a franchise that is just bound in mediocrity. It has been for so many years. There was an opportunity, a sniff a few years ago, where an ownership group from Seattle were going to buy them. They were going to buy the Kings and move them to Seattle, and everyone was like, thank God for this, because we'll finally be able to have a team that we can care about. I'm sorry, Kings fans. I feel bad for you because it's just bloody terrible. They've got no identity as a team. They just literally, they're like the 10 seed or the 12 seed every single year.
All right, Bray. All right. Okay. I'm going to go positive and then we can go back to negative. So funny enough, I actually have another stat line of the week from a Kings player, and that is Daquan Jeffries. All right, 17 minutes, 17 points, 6 for 6 from that field goal, 5 for 5 for threes. Only had 1 turnover, 1 foul. That's pretty good. That was a positive point. The Aaron Fox this week, 18 points per game, 9 assists, 1.5 steals. You're thinking, oh, that's really good. He shot 16% from 3. 16. Do you think he's being defended differently? How can he improve to get back to that production that potentially was going to put him as at an all-star break?
I mean, I think like teams are just realizing like this team does not have a lot of talent. Like if they're not a good defensive team, so you don't even need to come in hot. And if you can lock down their best players, it's going to be an easy win. You know, like they've got, I think it's Rashawn Holmes who's got his weird little floater bunny shot, which is like this weirdly efficient thing that he's got going, and he shoots like 6 of them a game and makes like 5. But like they've just not really, they've not got enough talent. They've not got enough outside shooting. You just don't. You look up and down the roster, and there's no one who you go, oh, that guy's getting a bucket. You know, I like Fox. Yeah, he's just been the focal point of a lot of teams. And to be fair, let's look in their last 7 games. They've had some tough matchups in there. The Sixers, that's always going to be a tough one. The Nets, the Heat, the Bucks. Like, yeah, like fair enough. With the roster they've got, you don't expect them to win it. But that's where my biggest problem is. It's not with the guys out there, because I think a lot of those guys would just be better on other teams. I think it's that they've got no culture, they've got no identity. You know, you look at the Knicks this year have cut, like Tibbs has just stamped his name all over it. There's like, we are going to be they are the best defense in the league. They're just like,
they've got their identity.
Yeah, everyone goes all out every night, and they've got someone to install a scheme there that everyone's bought into. They haven't been able to do that with the Kings. You know, I don't know if they would have to get someone incredible in. Like, you have to be looking to like poach Masai from Toronto in order to turn that around. Not on the serious. You need like someone like Jerry West, someone with. There are only a few people in and around the league who can install, you know,
the culture.
And you know, like you look at Pat Riley, you look at these kind of storied people, and there are a fair few franchises out there. It's not just the Kings who, you know, had it in the past and lost it, don't have it now, or in some cases have never had it.
We're going to finish on the Kings, but just before we move on to the Warriors, in that Kings Heat game, Bam and Jimmy Butler both had triple doubles. Okay, they're the only duo in history to have multiple triple doubles in the same game, which I thought was nuts. So I just need a one, you know, quick answer. Who is the best duo in the league right now? We're going to go around with GMs. Just go quickly.
PG and Kwai. PG Kwai.
Okay, I thought you were going to go MC Dub Booch, and I was like, no, you dare. Right, yeah, go on, next.
Bron and AD. It's got to be Bron and AD.
Cool.
AD's injured.
No, what? That's fine.
What?
Injured.
Go on, Marty.
Oh, right. Hey, man, we got to give a shout to the Jazz, Gobert and Donovan.
Cool.
At least this season, if you're asking me about this season, they're one of the best duos. The screen assists from Gobert. There's a lot of that coming from Donovan scoring.
Yeah, I'll probably go Bron and AD as well.
I'll say Embiid and Simmons.
Ooh.
They were my second.
Thank you.
I think
I don't know about that. That's like, you know, Valentine's Day turned up with a card and flowers. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. Okay, Matt, let's stay in that. I like that positivity, and we are going to go to a team which is having a positive year. 2-2 this week, 16-15 overall. The Warriors, rekindling some of that championship form, maybe.
Yeah, they've been doing all right of late. They're obviously 2-2 this week, and to be honest with you, the 2 defeats that they had were very narrow ones. But we'll get to those in a second. Let's just first cover that game against the Cavs, in which they absolutely trounced them. Curry got 16 points in the first quarter, 24 by the half. You finish with 36 points, and Draymond Green gets 16 assists, tying his career high.
Did you see Curry's move on Osman, Matt? You see him dancing on him?
Yeah. Steph has been ridiculous of late, to be honest with you. And then that followed up in the game against the Heat as well. Even though we had a terrible night shooting, he still makes like 2 clutch 3-point shots in the last 90 seconds of overtime. So they won that game 120-112 in OT, even though they trailed by like 19 points in the first half. And then obviously they lost against the Magic, which was a narrow defeat. They trailed by about 7 with about a minute to go. Curry again hits 2 clutch 3-point shots just to get them within a chance of taking it to overtime, and then he misses the contested 3 right at the end, which doesn't usually happen. But I'm putting that defeat down to the fact that obviously Vucevic gets a triple-double, and Fournier scores something like 28 points as well.
He listened to the podcast. He listened to Benoit chat.
That was a great podcast.
Vucevic 30-point triple-double, Fournier 28 points. And I think that result can be put down to the fact that the Warriors have been missing both Looney and Wiseman of late, and they could have done with those big men to help out. Ed, stop pulling faces. You know it's true.
Yeah, Ed, it's not your time.
Do you want me to go over the Magic's injuries? No. Carry on.
No,
we're not talking about the Magic.
Yeah, the Magic, was it next week? I might just take them off the billing. Anyway, go on, Matt.
Yeah. So they've missed Looney and Wiseman. They've not been playing without a big man for how long now? Like a good few weeks, and they really could have done with one against the Magic, against someone who is as good as Vucevic. And then the Hornets, that again, I think that was the one where they kind of threw it away.
Jump ball.
Kind of.
Yeah, they obviously led by 2
Draymond.
points.
The team
led by 2
seconds?
Yeah, they led by 2 points, and then Draymond just gets himself ejected. The Hornets hit the 2 free throws, and then Terry Rozier just hits his second buzzer beater of the game. That was a brutal defeat, but it's nothing to be concerned about in terms of the season. Like, if you're going to lose 2 games, they're not a bad way to lose games as like a whole grand scheme of things.
Crazy in that Magic game, the Warriors had a massive comeback and they led by 13 with 8:50 to go. And then Magic just went on a tear. 31 to 14 the rest of the way. With Draymond, I want to speak to him. Obviously, he apologized because he felt like he threw the game, and it is a bit annoying. You're getting technicals during a key moment. I know it's passion, but it's a big mess up. But he spoke to the media about the double standards of players being scrutinized, asking for trades, but then having to be respectful when they're on the trade block. And I just wanted to open out to you guys what your thoughts on that. Do you think it's a fair thing to say? Are you against it? Are you for it?
I think he's right. Just it's not the right situation right now with the players that he's talking about. Like they're basically like they've come to these players have come to agreements. It's probably in their best interest not to play. Like Drummond's not been playing well. His trade value is higher if he doesn't play. He understands that, and no, he's not going to be there. It's a bit of a dick move for them to just like trade for Jared Allen and just move on from him. But like apart from like that's not, you know, I don't think that's too bad. I mean, and then you compare it to what James Harden did.
Yeah, I think that it's like a delicate situation. James Harden like really kind of melded in, wasn't really giving his all while he was still there, which is kind of human nature. You kind of expect that. The difference is that the team is still going to be paying him whether he's playing or not. So I understand the whole double standard aspect of it in the way he's seeing it. But also I think that what the Cavs did I don't think that was bad. I think it's just an accumulation of bad stories of guys getting pulled off the court, or they're being traded halfway through the game and then not knowing. I think just Draymond used the opportunity to use his platform to talk about it because it came up because of the Draymond situation. Because he made a point of bringing up previous moves by organizations that upset him. So I don't think it was necessarily the Cavs thing so much. I just think that because it was a recent topic, that he used it to air some frustrations of previous moves by organizations.
Matt, what do you think about it? Obviously, this is your team. Draymond saying what he says. Do you agree with it?
I think he's got a point, yeah. Pretty much just echoing like what Bray was saying. Like, it does obviously benefit some players, really, like Drummond's the perfect example. Yeah, I think he's definitely got a point, but yeah, he obviously made that mistake the other night, and he's a very vocal person, as Draymond Green always has been. He's always going to come out and say these sorts of things in the media, but I do agree with him on this time.
Moving back to the Warriors, Eric Pascal playing really well for this squad. He had 14 points, 8 rebounds in the Cavs win. He had 11, 7, and 3 off the bench in the Heat game. Do you think there's a potential chance he might step into the starting lineup, or do you think he's probably better benefiting off the bench and helping that second unit?
I think he's better off the bench, to be honest. He's obviously made some great contributions of late, but yeah, in terms of just the Warriors' balance as a team and how much poorer they are when like Steph isn't on the court as well and stuff like that, it's good that they've got someone like Pascal who's stepping onto the court and can help out with that really as well. Especially when you look at other players like Wiggins and Oubre who are very inconsistent. They can obviously like drop like 25, 30 points one game and then just like nothing the next. So the fact that you've got Pascal, who's a much more consistent player of late, I think it benefits just kind of staying, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it with him at the moment.
Point. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up with the Warriors, a couple of games back, they have a guy starting in their lineup called Toscano Anderson, and there was a viral clip where he dished the ball to Steph on the other wing, and he just started running the other way because he knew it was in. I just think that's a really cool angle and shows how likable Steph is as a personality, as well as how insane of a shooter he is. So that's really cool. So the Los Angeles Lakers, did they have a Valentine's hangover? You know, did they get caught cheating with one of their people? Because George, they're 1-2 this week. You know, ooh, is the wagon falling off? You know, Ed's covering the camera. We don't know. We don't know. The Lakers. This is probably one of the only times they're going to have a under 500 record when we review them. 1-2 this week, 22-9 overall. George, still feeling good about the Lakers? You still feeling good about the
yeah, I'm still feeling good. I'm not gonna lie. We've hit a speed bump, you know. But I'm hoping we can get back. Obviously, it's not as comfortable as we would like to be. Because we're starting to pick up quite a few injuries throughout the roster. Obviously, Anthony Davis goes out. He's expected to be gone for like 4 weeks from the injury to his calf. So that's a big knock. That's the big knock to the team there. And also we lose players such as Dennis Schroeder as well. But we also see some common day-to-day injuries, which is game time decisions for LeBron and Kyle Kuzma. So it seems to be whittling its way through the list of our depth chart, and it's getting a little bit nerve-wracking. But I think we can still pull it off. As when Anthony Davis went out, LeBron said himself, it just means that I need to pick it up. But with him on that list as well, we'll just have to see how much he pushes his body for that. Like you mentioned, in the last couple of games, they did lose out to the Heat on that as well in a shocking loss. But yeah, we'll see where it goes from here, really.
Milestone for the King, passing 35,000 points. Mm-hmm. George, do you think he's gonna beat Kareem?
Oh yeah. My pool is in LeBron. He's going for it. He's going all the way. I don't care what anyone else says. How can you doubt him, right?
I think he's waiting until his son joins the league, because that would be I think that would be an amazing moment.
Can I ask a follow-up? What do you think, if LeBron could choose one, would it be to play in the league with his son or to get to beat Kareem?
Oh, play in the league with his son.
Yeah,
he's going to do both anyway. He's literally.
No,
if you were gonna say a chip, I thought you were gonna say championship.
Yeah. Oh, 3. You can put 3 in there. A championship, his son, or beating Kareem. Or if you can only have one, if you're LeBron.
Championship.
He's going to get all 3 of those.
Just answer the fucking question, Bray.
If he had to choose, I think he will go for his son.
I mean, Bron's not out here choosing. He's not out here choosing. But I think he'd probably choose his son because,
outright.
We're gonna see that in Space Jam for sure.
I think Kareem's the last on that list because nobody says Kareem's better than LeBron anymore. Well, anymore anyway. So it's like he doesn't need to surpass Kareem to win that argument. It's just him and MJ.
Oh, can't wait until it's over. There's going to be so many discussions when it's all said and done. But yeah, so you've got their win comes against the Timberwolves. Not really, that great of a win. They barely passed them. The next game, the Nets won pretty comfortably. We saw a great play from Kyrie where he faked the handoff, turnaround jumper, one of his patented moves. And then the Heat, Caruso misses a shot at the buzzer to potentially send it into overtime. From their slide, do you think it's the fact that they're missing Anthony Davis? He is having a down year. Or do you think it's the point of their bench and their, the players that they've acquired not stepping up?
I think so. The way I'd see it in these situations, like I'm not going to pretend like I know everything, but I feel like when you have a team who've got strong players, strong starters who are comfortable with lifting, I do feel like the bench players or the rest of the teams can get comfortable with that, or may get a bit lax. I think you've seen this evidence in the past, like with the Warriors team, for example, where Clay passed the ball to Steph and he already started running back on defense and Steph didn't make the shot. So I think it's the point where they kind of settled into those roles of being in the back seat. But now that like AD and kind of the other star players are getting knocked out and can't perform as much, now they're like, oh, I've got to actually pick it up and perform now. And then they've got to try to like form something together to actually perform and get what they need to get the victories. So I think we are going to see that with Kuzma, especially because I felt like before like the AD came in, he was turning into that star player on the Lakers, and then obviously AD came in and then he had to drop back into the bench position and stuff like that. And now AD's out. Maybe he'll get more minutes, and now he has to pick it up and bring up that stack. So it's these drastic changes which are happening, but we'll see. From what I hear, they might be looking at bringing in another player, but I'm not sure how solid that is, but we'll see.
I heard Boogie as well, and if anybody can recruit, it will be LeBron, the GM. Yeah. Should we head to the leaderboard?
Yes.
Let's do it. There's we're going to go top to bottom because I sense it's a little bit of salt, from somebody. So yeah, we're just going to wait until the last moment. So at the top spot, House Lasky, 108 wins, 74 losses. He is at 59%. Played 182 games. Best team, Jazz. Worst team, Magic. House of 03, second. Also had a really good week for you guys. You're up to 55%, so you've closed that gap by actually 2%. You're 181. You played 181 games, so just one less than Ed. In third place, still in third place, is One Bar Wildy, my man. 85 and 93. You're at 47%, nearing 48. You played 178 games. You've still got the Philly cheesesteak sandwich as your teams. Yeah. And you've got Lancashire Land Beer. Matt, fourth place, holding on to that spot. Your best team is the Denver Nuggets, but the Warriors and Raptors are also closing in on that. You're 81 and 95 with 176 games played. but now there's a 5% gap at the bottom because Bray has really dropped off here. He's 73 and 105 at 41%. He's played 178 games. So when he was complaining about how many games less he played, it's really caught up to him now. Discuss, how are we feeling?
I'm disappointed in the Celtics, the Pacers, and the Heat. Because I went, easier conference, we'll just get the teams that are going to be sat at the top of that, and they're not. And everyone's at 500, which means they can't make up for the absolute shit show that is the Kings and the Timberwolves. Now, you know, we already, I was basically locked into those picks, and we knew they were going to be bad. I messed up on the Rockets. That's all I can say.
Bray, I'm going to say this now. You might potentially end up with the West, the 3 worst teams in the West.
Yeah. I think I will. I think I'll have the 3 worst teams in the West, in the West, and 3 middling teams in the East, which doesn't really work out, does it?
and your Bulls might beat the Heat. Let's remember that as well.
That's not happening. I'm telling you, that's not happening.
They've got a tied record. Same record.
Zach LaVine should be an all-star over Jimmy Butler.
We will get to that.
Sorry, I feel bad for Bray, not gonna lie. Like all the shit he was speaking about Sacramento, he's not even their worst team. Like his worst team just sacked their coach. So it shows you where they're at. Like hopefully you get a new gaffer bounce, but it doesn't feel like Timberwolves got anything going. I mean, Carl is back. Cat is back.
Interesting point. I don't know if you guys saw Dane tweet.
Yes.
It's controversial. We said props to the guy because he's part of the Nick Nurse school.
He's British, but I think he's from British.
Yeah, and but Dane tweeted obviously saying David Vanderpool that he should have had the job. Basically, he was in Portland with Dane. He's like really highly respected around the league by all the players, and highlights the inequalities in coaching front office that the NBA has at the moment, which is something that they need to sort out given the makeup of the league.
I do get it, but I don't think the Timberwolves are there like, oh no, Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum said we should have hired this guy. We're then going to hire this guy. Like that was just my one thinking when I saw it.
He's on their staff. They've got him there. Like it was it should. The point was it should have been a no-brainer to give him the opportunity, and for some reason they didn't. I think he will get an opportunity though, because we look around the league, we look at teams like the Kings, and there might be some opportunities coming up there.
So that sums up week 10 for Sixth Man with Division discussions. We're done for this week. So thanks to all the GMs.